Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Inept General, and welcome to some Total War Warhammer news, and this is a look at the new Lizardmen trailer that just came out today. Let's give it another watch, shall we? Wow, that was great. I love that trailer, guys. I think it's brilliant. I like the fact that it makes you feel sorry for the dinosaurs, despite the fact it's blatantly obvious it's the dinosaurs who are attacking the elves. But let's have a look at some of the stuff I spotted in the trailer. Now, this is just my initial reaction, guys. I'm releasing this video within a couple of hours of the release of the trailer. So if there's anything I've missed, please don't berate me about it, but feel free to mention it in the comments. But let's have a look at some of the stuff we saw. First off, we saw Mundi in his throne room. Now, a little thing I didn't like about this is he was surrounded by temple guard. It's a bit hard to see in this image, but you guys would have been able to spot them in the trailer. But they were very jittery and couldn't stop moving around. Whereas the temple guard in real life are very disciplined Lizardmen soldiers. They're known to stand still, perfectly still, almost statuesque for years on end. One presumes they're somehow fed by their servant skinks or something, but they're meant to be stone still when they are guarding over the slain mage priests. So that irked me a little bit, but not a major thing. I think it was maybe just to help you sort of spot them in this dimly lit room. But we have that in the temple guard. I'll first look at them with Mundi. Who I assume is communicating telepathically with his skinks and servants and what have you. Next up, we had the Terradon Riders flying past us in a beautiful shot. Now, one thing I wanted to point out in this picture is that the Terradon Riders aren't holding any weapons. Now, in the tabletop, the Terradon Riders, in fact, have a javelin, or indeed go around with some bolas which have fire slugs in them, which can set people on fire. And in my Lizardmen army video, which you can find in the top right hand corner or in the description below, I do cover them in this reaction because they're essentially the idea is that they're a missile unit who can do some bombing. And we saw very much the bombing in this trailer. And the Lizardmen, if you don't know already or haven't watched my video on it yet, train the Terradons to do it because the Terradons, it's part of the Terradons' natural reproductive cycle. They pick up their eggs and drop them from a great height to hatch them because the egg shells are that thick. So the Lizardmen taught them to do it with other massive rocks with chains on them. So they have that bombarding ability we saw in the trailer. But the fact that they're missing any kind of weapon suggests that the idea is maybe to charge the Terradons into combat themselves after you've dropped off your bomb. And it looks like they'll only have the one charge on that from the trailer because it didn't sort of replenish it. But maybe that was just for cinematic value. We'll have to wait and see. But that suggests that they may be more melee focused than necessarily just a missile cav, which means we might not get to see their upgraded version, which is the Ripidactyl Riders. Now these guys are the ones on the tabletop who are meant to be very much the more melee focused flying unit of the Lizardmen, but we'll have to wait and see. It's just maybe they haven't put in the weapons yet into the build they used to make this cinematic trailer. Who knows? That's just a bit of speculation on my part. We'll have to wait and see. Either way, it's great to see them, and there was that beautiful diving animation I hope we see them do in Total War Warhammer 2 as well. Looked absolutely fantastic. Next up, there was just this shot I wanted to point your guys' attention to, and it's not about the Terradon or the Terradon Riders, but it's about what's going on down here. Now, in the trailer, you actually see it happening, and that is a Bastille with an item called the Engine of the Gods on its back, which is essentially a magical device with a huge diamond on it that collects the sun's energies and shoots it out in a beam of flaming energy at its enemies, and we see it fire off in this battle here, and I just thought it was fantastic. We don't really get a close-up shot in this trailer, but we have seen concept art from Creative Assembly on this unit before, and there it is. So that was the Bastille. Next up, we just have we had these kind of large creatures going towards the High Elves. I wasn't initially sure what they are, because there are a number of large creatures in the Lizardmen army, but they moved slightly differently. So there's one so these are creatures here. There's this guy in the top left. Now he moves kind of like an excited chubby puppy and goes around, and I think that's the animation they're using for the Stegadons, whereas this one and this one waddle about a bit more. Now I'm a bit far away to really see what they are. I'm going to hypothesize that the two on the right are Bastillodons and the one on the left is the Stegadon. Now this doesn't necessarily match up with what we see later on the trailer, but I think that might be more of an oversight on the part of the makers of the trailer. But that seems to be, that's what I'm guessing these creatures are. So we've not seen anything like the Razordon yet or anything like that. But we also see the Stegadon there, if that is a Stegadon, moving kind of like the puppy I mentioned, without anything on its back. Now, in the EGX presentation of the behind-the-scenes stuff we saw Creative Assembly release before, we actually saw them modeling this mount on the back of a Stegadon. So I think come the final game, we will get skinks on the back of Stegadons. But maybe for the trailer, I think they just had these Stegadons charging in. Maybe that animation wasn't quite ready to show off yet. They just had these Stegadons charging in with nothing on their backs. Next up, we have some High Elf Bowmen. Nothing terribly exciting there, just the High Elf Militia Bowmen, fairly standard. And we got the Eagle Bolt Thrower. Now, its configuration here, the Eagle Bolt Thrower is said on the tabletop has two firing modes. One where it fires one massive bolt, and another one where it fires multiple smaller bolts. Now, in this one, they should have multiple smaller bolts, but I do wonder whether that will be a firing mode you can exchange, or whether we'll just see the multiple bolt throwing version, or whether they make that two different types of units. Looking forward to seeing how they handle that, but in this one we definitely got to see the multiple bolt firing mode from the Eagle Bolt Thrower. And we have a lot of spearmen in the back. Now I think these are just regular spearmen, rather I don't think they're the Lefern Seagull, which are spearmen who can use bows as well. So I think these are just regular spearmen we see throughout this trailer. But next up we have this chap. Now this guy is playing the role of General. He's trying to hunt down our skink Terradon Riders. Now I'm instinctually want to say that he's a Dragon Prince or a Noble, which are going to be the general type and elite type, I think, of the High Elves. But the fact that he's carrying a greatsword and nothing in his other hand, no shield or anything like that, might suggest he is actually a Lord Lawmaster of Hoeth. Now, these are a different type of general. Now, fair enough, he doesn't have the eccentric headgear or the eccentric sword, but he is just still carrying a great sword in one hand and his other hand's free. Now, these guys are melee lords who can do magic to a certain degree, and that's who the Loremasters are. So, it'll be interesting to see, because we've already had concept art for the princess as a general type in Total War Warhammer 2. So maybe they just decided to use the term prince or princess and just use that for the princesses. And then for the male generals, they're giving us the Loremasters. That would be an interesting take, but I'm not 100% sure on that. This is just me kind of throwing the idea out there that that might have been a Loremaster rather than just your typical prince or noble of Ulthuan as the general type. Now, this I just wanted to highlight because we do see a little bit, nothing from the back of his head, but over here we do see a Staggered just kind of charging into some troops and knocking over some spearmen. So we do see the Staggered making a bit of a charge, but again, nothing on its back, unfortunately. Here we have the Mage, and I'm guessing we're going to have male and female mages. Hopefully it'll just be random, there won't be much difference between the two. And we see her fire out a missile. I think that missile will be the spell Soul Quench, which is a new lore, which is a spell from a new lore of magic we're going to get, known as the High Lore of Magic, which is specialized in by the High Elves. The Lizardmen can do it as well. And that's what I think she fired out at our poor Terradon Rider. And these were the princesses I mentioned earlier, just as the other generals. And it's just to highlight, we will get female general types and obviously female magic users as well in Total War Warhammer 2. And here we have the skink falling over. Now, this looked cool because it's great to see a skink real close up. But the thing that caught my eye was in the background here. We have our first glimpse of the Swordmasters of Hoth. And they are looking good, just charging around in the background there. The Swordmasters, of course, great sword wielding, some elite infantry for the High Elves. And we saw them charging about in the background of that shot. We also see them charging around in the background of this shot, along with the White Lions of Krace. Now, the White Lions are the Axemen unit. We knew the White Lions were in the game already. The Swordmasters we hadn't seen any indication of as of yet. But we do see some Swordmasters charging back. Do check it back out in the trailer if you didn't catch it the first time round. But there are some Swordmasters in the background there, which might back up the argument that this guy about to stab us is in fact a Loremaster. And these are just better shots of the models of the White Lions and the concept art that CA has released already. But we did see them in the background. They're a little bit blurry in that trailer, but they are in there. So great to see them. And then we had the money shot, kroq-gar, the legendary lord of the Lizardmen. To get a bit of lore on him, do check out the top right-hand corner, or my likely legendary Lizardmen Lords, if you want more than lore on just him and want to cover a whole plethora of Lizardmen Lords, do check that out in the description. But we got him, we got his magic items, he does have the glove, the Hand of the Gods, he does look very different from the general. Now, one thing I do want to point out, just in the next shot here, is I'm not sure if I like the way they did Grimlock. Now, Grimlock and kroq-gar are both some of the oldest living things in the Warhammer world, being about 8,000-year-olds, both of them. But kroq-gar's teeth are a bit snarly. He looks a bit like the deformed brother of a healthy carnosaur. But that's what he looks like there. His teeth are all a bit wonks. But there we go. I'm not sure I love that. I do like his little headpiece that he has for maybe a little extra armor. But I'm not sure I love his teeth. I'm not sure I like the way that Grimlock looks. I'll put that out there. I might get some hate for that one, guys. But he does look a bit more grizzled than other carnosaurs, one could guess. But I mean, if you take, he looks almost sort of handsome here. The way he looks on the tabletop, you know, all symmetrical, quite a handsome chap. And then here you get his snaggly tooth weird brother. It's a bit strange, but there you go. I think kroq-gar himself looks amazing. Can't wait to see him on the Total War Warhammer 2. But Grimlock, I think Grimlock looks a bit weird. Just me putting that one out there, guys. But do check out the lore on kroq-gar. Hope you guys enjoyed the trailer as much as I did. As always, guys, huge thank you all for watching. Special thanks to my patrons, John, Reese, Colin, Thomas, Mateus, Samuel, Matthews. And as usual, guys, thanks again, and hope to catch you on the next one.